The Art of Focus in a Distracted World.
Hello and welcome, everyone, to another episode of English Audio Lounge. I'm your host, Stephen, and today we're tackling a challenge that affects us all, staying focused in an increasingly distracted world. Joining me are two wonderful guests, Paul and Ashley. Paul, Ashley, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Stephen. Great to be here.
Likewise, I'm really looking forward to this discussion.
Fantastic. Now let's dive straight in. It's no secret that staying focused nowadays is harder than ever. With notifications pinging, endless streams of content, and the constant pressure to multitask, our attention spans are dwindling. Paul, let's start with you. Have you ever struggled with maintaining focus?
Oh, absolutely. I used to pride myself on being a multitasker, but over time I realized that I was just spreading myself too thin. I'd be answering emails, checking social media, and half listening to a podcast while working, only to find that nothing was actually sinking in. It was like trying to fill a bucket with holes in it.
I can totally relate. I used to think that multitasking was the secret to productivity, but in reality, it's more like juggling knives. Eventually, you're going to drop something, and it won't be pretty.
That's a great analogy. And of course, studies have shown that multitasking significantly reduces efficiency and increases mental fatigue. Paul, was there a turning point for you?
Yes, actually, I had a huge project deadline and thought I could get it done while keeping up with everything else. But my work ended up riddled with mistakes and I had to redo a big chunk of it. That was when it hit me. I needed to single task rather than multitask. So, I started blocking distractions, setting specific work periods, and taking intentional breaks. It made a world of difference.
That's brilliant. And Ashley, what about you? Have distractions ever gotten the better of you?
Oh, more times than I'd like to admit. One moment that stands out was when I was preparing for a major presentation. I kept checking my phone, responding to texts, and scrolling mindlessly. By the time I looked at my notes, I realized I barely retained anything. I ended up winging half the presentation, and let's just say it was not my finest hour.
That must have been frustrating.
Extremely, but it was a wake-up call. After that, I made some serious changes. I started using the Pomodoro technique, which breaks work into focused intervals with short breaks in between. Also, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and even leave it in another room when I really need to concentrate.
That's a great strategy. I've also found that setting clear priorities for the day helps immensely. Instead of reacting to every email or message as it comes in, I allocate specific times to check them. That way, I stay in control of my schedule rather than being at the mercy of constant interruptions.
Wise words, Paul. And I love that both of you emphasize intentionality. I think we often forget that focus isn't just about removing distractions. It's about actively creating an environment that fosters deep work. What other tips would you give to someone struggling with focus?
I'd say make a habit of mindful consumption. If you're bombarded with information all day, your brain is going to be exhausted. Choose what you consume carefully and don't be afraid to unplug.
Absolutely. And on top of that, I'd recommend getting enough rest. People underestimate how much sleep deprivation messes with their ability to concentrate. You can have the best focus strategies in the world, but if you're running on fumes, it's all in vain.
So true. It's like sharpening an axe before chopping wood. It saves you effort in the long run. Well, this has been a truly insightful conversation. Thank you both so much for sharing your experiences and wisdom. Any final thoughts?
Just remember, focus is like a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it gets. Small steps lead to big improvements.
And be kind to yourself. Distractions are everywhere, but with the right strategies, you can regain control of your attention.
Love that. Well, that's all for today's episode. Thanks again, Paul and Ashley, and thank you to everyone listening. If you found this helpful, don't forget to subscribe and share. Until next time, stay focused and stay mindful.
Thank you for listening to English Audio Lounge. We hope you have enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more audio stories and video classes to improve your English.